Hello friends. In the last class we had studied about that what are the different types of pollination, the self and cross pollination, and what are the different mechanisms by which plant will favor the cross pollination mechanism. Now today we will study about what are the different agencies of pollination. Like we had seen that day, there can be abiotic as well as biotic agents which are involved in the process of pollination. So we will see one by one in detail the different agencies of pollination. Now, we have already studied about viability of pollen grains in the first chapter. You know that pollen, once they are released from the anthers, they need to reach up to the stigma within a particular time limit. Otherwise, the thing that happens is they may become non-viable. And what do you mean by viability? The ability of the pollen grain to fertilize, or you can say to germinate and fertilize the female gamete. We had seen like wheat, rice, these are the plants which have the viability. The pollens of these plants, they have viability of 30 minutes. Likewise, there were many examples that we had studied. So you should remember that once the pollen grains they are released from the anthers, they should reach up to the stigma within a particular time limit, or you can say the time up till which they remain viable. So it will be species specific. Now, the first agency that we will be studying for pollination is wind. Okay, we will be starting with the abiotic agents for pollination and then we'll be moving to the biotic agents. The first abiotic agent for pollination will be wind, and pollination by wind is called as anemophily. Okay, pollination by wind will be called as anemophily. Now, you know wind will be an abiotic agent, right? So basically you should understand here that since wind, depending upon in which direction the wind is flowing or wind is blowing actually, what happens is the pollens will be released. So at a particular position there should be a specific, there should be plants. For example, if this is a seashore, right? Here is the sea and here there are the plants. Right? So if these are the plants which are pollinated by wind, and in case if the wind is blowing in this direction, then there are chances of pollination taking place here. Right? But what happens here is those trees which are coming here at the last, the chances of the pollens of these trees getting pollinated are very less. Instead, if the direction of wind is this, then what happens is there will be maximum chances of pollination because the pollen from this plant are going to land here, from this to here, or you can say they are going to land in a particular direction where there are more number of plants. Let us now discuss on what should be the characteristics of the anthers, the flowers and the stigma that are to be pollinated by the wind. Now, the first point that should be kept in mind, first we will study about what should be the characteristics of the anthers. So when you talk about the anther, now the wind, since it is an abiotic agent and there will be no specific, guarantee that yes, the pollens are going to land on the stigma, one thing that is being adapted by the plants is that the pollens are produced more in number. Okay? Pollens are produced more in number. If you see an example, Cannabis is a plant where you can see that a single flower produces somewhere around 5 lakh of pollen grains. Right? So you can see that why they are produced in such large number, because wind is an abiotic agent. It will not be able to carry, or there is no guarantee that the pollen which are carried by the wind, they are going to land on the stigma, all the stigmas. So to increase the chances of fertilization, the number of pollen grains are produced is more. Right? So remember that anthers, inside the anthers there will be more number of pollen grains which are produced. One example given here is of Cannabis plant, in which a single flower produces somewhere around 5 lakhs of pollen grains. Now, the anthers of the plants which are pollinated by wind should be well exposed. right? Within a flower, for example, if this is the plant on which, if this is a leaf, if the flower is immediately present here in contact with the leaf, then whenever the wind is blowing, there are chances that these leaves can create a hindrance for the delivery of the pollen grains. So what happens is, instead, those plants in which the pollen grains are actually carried by the wind, flowers, they are present on the top part of the plant. So that whenever the wind is blowing, there are chances that the anthers inside, which will be very well exposed, the pollen grains, they easily flow with the help of wind. So remember, the anthers should be well exposed. The flowers which are produced in the wind pollinated plants, they are generally small and inconspicuous. Inconspicuous means there will be small flowers which are bundled together. So many flowers present together, there will be more number of anthers at a particular point present basically at the terminal, or you can say the axial part of the plant. So whenever the wind is blowing, these pollen grains can be easily carried by the wind. In case if the flower is unisexual, then on that particular plant, more male flowers are present. If a plant is having unisexual flowers, then that kind of plant will have more male flowers, right? And if a plant has both male and female flowers present, that means if it is bisexual, then the number of male and female flowers will be same, but there will be more stamens present within a flower, right? For example, there can be, if this is the female reproductive part, if there are more male flowers, the number of stamens in a flower can be less, but if there are more, you can say the flower is bisexual and both male and female reproductive flowers are present, then there can be more number of the stamens present, so that these more number of stamens, they are able to produce more number of pollen grains, and there will be more chances of pollination taking place. Okay. Now, pollens, as I said, in case we have also studied about different types of anthers, where we were studying the structure of anther. So those plants in which the pollen grains, they are carried by the wind, or wind is acting as a pollinating agent, the anthers are versatile. Right? That means you know what is versatile anthers. They are simply just hanging, right? The filament, it is not very well attached to the anthers. The anthers, they are just blowing with the help of the wind. So whatever is the pollen grains that are produced within the anthers, they will be easily carried by the wind. So this is when we talk about the anthers, okay? And in this I have included one point of what about the flowers if they are present in these caves. Fine. Now, what about the stigma? Now, the stigma in these cases should be hairy, feathery, and well exposed. Same like that of the anther. Until and unless the stigma will be very well exposed, the pollen grains which are carried by the wind will not be able to easily land. And once they are landed, these stigma, they should be hairy or feathery, so that they can easily trap the pollen grains which are being carried by the wind. So generally, if you see the stigma, they will be like this. They will be feathery with the ovary at the bottom, right? Generally, we will study about that in the flower characteristics. Here you need to remember that stigma will be hairy, feathery, and again very well exposed, so that it can easily trap the pollen grains which are being carried by the wind. Example, you can see that of a corn cob, right? Corn is a plant where you will see that there are tassels present on the corn plant. If you see basically a corn plant, you will see that if this is a soil level, here there will be the prop roots which are present, right? On the top you will see like this feathery structures. These are nothing but the tassels. And these tassels are nothing but they are the group of the male flowers present. right? And these male flowers, as I told you, they are more in number with more stamens present, and those stamens will be very well exposed, right? So these are the tassels of a corn plant. On the bottom side, you will see that there is presence of the female flowers, right? And those female flowers, they will have very well exposed style, which will be present on the outer side with feathers present, which will be trapping the pollen grains that are to be carried by the wind, right? So this is the example of the corn plants that is again given in your NCERT. Now, what about the flowers of the plant that are being pollinated by the wind, right? Now, the flowers will be odorless. Since the pollinating agency is an abiotic component, right? It is not going to get attracted to the odor. So the flowers that are produced on a wind pollinated plant will be odorless. It will be, of course, colorless. And it will, yes, odorless and colorless. That means since it is not going to be pollinated by the biotic agents, there will be no nectar formation, because nectar is generally secreted, you can say secreted by those plants or flowers which are to be pollinated by the biotic agents, right? Because biotic agents, like you can say the animals or insects, they generally need nectar, and for sucking the nectar they come to the flowers. Now there is no biotic agent going to come to the flowers, so the flowers here, they'll be odorless, colorless, and there will be no formation of the nectar taking place in it. So these are the characteristics of a plant, or you can say of the anther, stigma and the flowers which are to be pollinated by the wind. Example of plants in which you see that it is pollination takes place by wind is maize, rice, wheat, and you will see major class of grasses is the one which is generally pollinated by the wind, right? So let us quickly see it. In anthers, they should be more in number, they should be well exposed, there will be small and inconspicuous flowers present. If the plant is unisexual, there will be more male flowers present. If it is bisexual, there will be more number of stamens present. And the anthers, they will be versatile. Whereas the stigma, it will be hairy, feathery, and again very well exposed. Flowers here will be odorless, colorless, and with very less nectar, or you can say no nectar formation actually. Now, here if I say that the flower is bisexual, that means if both male and female flowers, reproductive organs are present. Let us consider this to be the receptacle. These are the anthers present, very well exposed, right? So in that case, if the flower is bisexual, then the female part, what you will see is that the gynoecium, it was, as I said, will be generally feathery, right? And one more peculiarity that you will see is that in this case, the gynoecium is generally uni-ovulated. That means only one ovule will be present. So there are more chances of fertilization, and immediately there will be formation of the fruit taking place. Okay? So this is all about your first abiotic agent, that is wind. In the next lecture, we'll be studying about the next abiotic agent, that is water. Thank you.